ever since the dawn of civilization, sales has been the best, if not the second best skill to have to be able to survive and to make money. And in this video today, I'll be making a tier list. As you guys can see right here, S tier is obviously going to be the best. D tier is going to be the worst. And I'll be basing these different vehicles on like how much time freedom you're able to attain, the location freedom, and financial freedom, like how quickly you're able to make $10,000 a month. And with that, we're going to go ahead and start directly with car sales, going to the dealership, selling cars. And I feel like it really determines on what types of cars that you're selling. That's going to determine on how much you're able to make. Because if you're at like a Honda dealership and you're only selling Honda Civics, I feel like your income is going to be very, very capped. But if you're at a Lamborghini dealership or like a supercar dealership where you're selling Bugattis and very, very high level cars, your income is probably going to be a lot better than selling the low level cars to the lower class civilians. So that's a really big determining factor on like what you're going to be able to expect in terms of your income. But with car sales, you're not going to be having any type of location freedom at all. You're going to be always tied down to that dealership or other dealerships if you're branching off. But with time freedom as well, you don't really have that because you have to be there from like 8 a.m. till maybe 4 or 5 p.m. The typical 9 to 5 hours, because no one's going to buy a car at like 2 or 3 a.m. So no location freedom, no time freedom. It's going to be very hard to get financial freedom unless you're working at a very high class dealership selling these Lamborghinis, very high level cars, Bugattis, all that type of stuff. So with car sales, I feel like it's very good, especially if you're a beginner in life. Maybe you're like 18, 19, 20, 21, like somewhere around my age, and you have no idea what to do in life. Any type of sales is good, but car sales, I would definitely say it's right up there in the A class, just because it's a good beginner level kind of vehicle to get in with sales. Now, next up, this is like retail sales, like working at McDonald's at the cash register or as a server, like I used to work as, like at a restaurant, just kind of the order taker. You're just taking orders, not really using the skill of sales that much. You're just kind of the middleman, but not really doing any type of effort in terms of using your sales ability. And with that, you're not getting any sort of commission. You're just getting paid by the hour most of the time. But as a server, I was getting tips, maybe like $20 tips, $40 tips. But if you average it all out, sometimes I didn't get any tips whatsoever. It'd be pretty much the same as working at McDonald's. So we're going to put retail sales at the bottom at D tier. Just because you have no location freedom, no time freedom, there's definitely no chance you're going to get any type of financial freedom anytime soon, just because you're just trading your time for money, and you'd have to work probably 200 to 400 years just to be able to taste a little bit of freedom financially. Now, next up, D2D sales. I'd say this is right up there with car sales in terms of like the entry level. The ability to earn a lot of money just determines on what type of company you're working for, what type of niche you're in, whether it be solar, life insurance sales, pest control. There's a lot of different niches and things that you can sell door to door, windows. I mean, there's so many different options, but with door to door, I feel like that is the hardest on the list in terms of the difficulty, because you're literally knocking on someone's door who has no idea who you are, what you're selling. So you're literally going from a complete stranger to getting someone to buy your product, service, whatever it may be. So I think that's definitely the best. Actually, I'm gonna move this up to S tier, just because like, especially if you have no sales skills whatsoever, you have no income, I think door to door is definitely the best way to go, because even if you do completely fail, you make no money whatsoever, you're gonna learn a lot of lessons, a lot of things on like how to talk to people, how to make them like you. The failures that you're going to experience, it's going to mold you and shape you into the man that you need to be able to create to go into any of these other different vehicles to completely conquer them. I've never done door to door myself, but I've had a few friends who are and have done it in the past, and they're very good at sales, just because like this is definitely the hardest. It's kind of like jumping into a super cold pool and then jumping into a slightly colder pool. That slightly colder pool is going to be a lot easier to be in, just because you've already experienced harder things. So yeah, definitely S tier with D2D sales, especially if you're starting out, no idea what you're doing in life. D2D is it's basically like a boot camp for sales, because you're gonna be doing the hardest of the hardest. And then following that, we have Jehovah Witnesses. Obviously, that's not going to be very profitable whatsoever. No location freedom, no time freedom. And yeah, I kind of missed out with D2D sales. You don't really have the location freedom or time freedom unless you're going out into different states, but you're not able to do door-to-door sales in, let's just say, Thailand, knocking on Thai people's doors and trying to sell soul. It's just not going to happen. They don't really speak English. But Jehovah Witnesses, not profitable whatsoever. No location freedom, no time freedom. It's just kind of grinding in the wrong direction. So we're going to go ahead and put that right there in the D tier just because it's completely pointless and you're just using the skill of sales in the complete wrong direction. Now, next up, this is like the MLM type of sales where you're just selling kind of like a pyramid scheme type of thing. It's kind of scammy, to be completely honest. I actually did this when I was first trying to make money online. I was working at Red Lobster and one of my coworkers said he was hopping on a Zoom call with this massive opportunity. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this my first step into making money online? I hopped on the Zoom call. It was like 40, 50 people on the Zoom call. I was like, oh, what is this? Is this some type of pyramid scheme? There's some type of life insurance policy that I bought for like $100 a month. And then the whole goal of that company was to get as many people as we could on these calls as possible to get them to buy the life insurance. And then the whole point of them joining was to bring more and more people in. And then that's when I started doing some research into pyramid schemes and different types of pyramid schemes. And then I found out about MLMs, which is like pretty much a legal form of pyramid schemes. And with these, you probably can have some location freedom, some time freedom as well, maybe financial freedom. But the thing is, it's going to cost you a lot of your soul, a lot of your kind of self-image, just because you know that it's an MLM deep on the inside and you know it's the legal version of a pyramid scheme. So if you're willing to sell your soul and to scam people and to just get as many people as possible and to trade these people for money, this is for you. But if not, if you want to have a clear conscience, you want to sleep good at night, I would stay clear of these MLMs and to just get into some legit sales roles where you're actually using the skill of sales and not just using hype and people to sell them on life insurance for the rest of your life. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the D tier as well, just because it's not gonna help you feel good and help you sleep good at night. And of course, you can probably earn a lot of money, but it won't be worth it in the long term when you're looking back on your life and looking at how many lives you kind of screwed over. Now, next up, remote sales. That's what I do right now. I'm a remote closer making $20,000 a month, just selling for the very high ticket products, mentorships, communities, all that type of stuff. And I'm only working like 2 to 4 hours a day. I've traveled to Dubai, the Philippines, Malaysia, back to the USA. I've been, you're able to travel around the entire world, work whenever you want, pretty much. Obviously, the more you work, the more you're able to make. And it all depends on what offer you're on that determines on how much you're able to make. Right now, the offer I'm selling for right now, it ranges from 6K USD to 15K, maybe 30K USD, depending on if I get that sale or not. So it really determines on the offer that you make, that you're on, that determines on how much you're able to make. That determines like how much freedom you're going to be able to get. Because if you're on an offer and a remote sales only making 1K, 2K a month, you're not going to be able to really travel the world. You're going to be kind of scraping around, living below your means. But if you land a gold mine offer, you're able to absolutely live completely on your own terms and create the life you've always wanted for yourself. So with remote sales, it really determines on your skills, what offer you're on, but I'll put that in the S tier just because I'm a little bit biased. I do that myself and it's completely changed my life, to be honest. Now, next up, real estate sales, wholesaling, being an agent, selling houses, apartments, whatever it may be, selling property. I think real estate sales, it's maybe good long term as like something on the side, but as your main income, I don't think it's that great, just because it takes a very long time for someone to buy a house, a property, especially if it's very, very high end, very pricey. It's not going to be done very quickly. But with real estate, I feel like it is good long term, especially if you're buying and holding long term and it's increasing in value over time. That'll be very good in terms of like the long-term gains. But short term, if you're trying to make $10,000 a month in like 60 days, I just don't think that's the case. You have to get your license. You have to set everything up. You have to learn exactly how to set up the properties, to show them, to find clients, people, buyers, all this type of stuff. So with this, I'm going to put in the B tier just because it's not as bad as, let's just say, working at McDonald's as a server or an MLM. but still it's not as quick as, let's just say, car sales, D2D, or remote sales. Now, following that, corporate sales, this is pretty much the exact same thing as a 9 to 5, but a little bit leveled up. I can imagine corporate sales to be, you're just working in the cubicle, working with other people. You have pizza parties every Saturday. It's not that great. It's not that bad, but it's just right there in the middle. This is like the middle class type of lifestyle where you're just going home to the wife, feeding the dog, talking to your kids, watching Netflix, watching sports, and then you're just going to sleep and repeating that same exact life for the rest of your life. And it's not that secure. You don't get any time freedom. You get location freedom twice a year on your vacations, but you're not going to get any type of financial freedom from this unless it's like a very high level corporate job where you're like up there in the ranks. It's a very big company. Maybe in like 20, 30 years, you're able to actually gain financial freedom, but it just won't be worth it just because you're not really ambitious. You're not really a loser. You're just kind of right there in the middle. So it just doesn't really make any sense. But next up, we have jet sales. Jet sales, I only know one person ever who's been a jet salesman, but from what he told me is that it's very interesting in terms of the people you're able to meet, the experiences you're able to learn. And I think that's very, very interesting in terms of like being able to meet very high level people. You're selling jets. So, I mean, you're only talking to very highly qualified prospects, very high level people, which might be good for you long term. New opportunities might be able to open up. You're going to be able to get very hefty commissions. But the thing is, it probably does take a long period of time for someone to actually pay for a jet, like in cash or finance it, whatever it may be. So with this, the networking, very good, but you don't get any location freedom, time freedom, but the income really determines on like what type of sales you're doing and how long it takes. But I imagine it doesn't take any shorter than 90 days. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the B tier as well, just because the networking aspect and how interesting it is. I think it's well worth it compared to like corporate sales or working at McDonald's, obviously. And then next up, this is life insurance sales. So this is pretty much the exact same thing as an MLM, to be completely honest. So we're going to put this in the D tier. Obviously, you can get location freedom, time freedom, and financial freedom, but still, it really determines on the life insurance policy. It's like right there on the edge of like an MLM or like something legit. So we're going to go ahead and put that in the D tier just because it's so close to an MLM that I'm not really that big of a fan of it personally. And then last but not least, tech sales. This is really close to remote sales. There's a few people I've met at my gym that are in tech sales. They pretty much do the exact same thing as remote sales. They're just selling very high ticket tech to these businesses. It's kind of like B2B remote sales. They're just selling tech to these companies, and they get location freedom, time freedom, and eventually financial freedom, just like remote sales. So if you're into tech and you position yourself correctly with these tech companies, you can sell for them remotely anywhere in the world. Now, I have no idea how to get started with tech sales, but if you come to Unreal Gym out here in Bangkok, Thailand, I'll connect you with one of the people who do tech sales, and then they can maybe teach you how it's done. But yeah, other than that, guys, this is pretty much it for the tier list. Very simple. I've only done remote sales. I've done retail sales. And yeah, I've tested the waters with the MLMs for like a week. But other than that, I haven't really tried any other of these businesses. But from what I've heard from my friends and from just thinking of, common sense of how these businesses and vehicles work with the skill of sales, the top tier ones are obviously the ones that are able to level you up as fast as possible, provide you an uncapped income, location freedom, time freedom, and eventually financial freedom. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one.